Georgina, we are going to reflect on 2025 at Minds Thrive. And as we draw closer to Christmas, we are festively dressed in green and red. That wasn't planned, was it? But there we go. There we go. I'm not going to put my reindeer. I'm not going to put my reindeer antlers on. I think that's probably a bit too much. But let's start off by looking at how our year started. So we began 2025 with applying for a bid for £200,000 that I was absolutely convinced we were going to get. Sorry, Georgina, I think I dragged you along a little bit too much for that, didn't I?
Well, yes, Ruth.
Spoiler alert, we didn't get it.
And it was hugely disappointing. So from our perspective, the bid seemed to have been written for us. From my husband's perspective, I asked him to look it over. He's like, I wouldn't waste your time on this. They don't have clarity on what they want. And I did it anyway. And I think it was a journey of learning. We did learn a lot from the process, but we did smash right into a brick wall. We were so disappointed. We invested an awful lot of time into it, our personal time, our Minds Thrive time. So there were projects that we were going to be doing that we didn't do. It was family moments that we missed out on because we were beavering away on this bid all the time. So yes, listening to my husband, though, would have saved us a lot of heartache in the first instance. And there's something about wisdom. So he's familiar with these things. We are not. But we are a little bit wiser now. And I think there's something about optimism and realism. And I would describe myself as a realistic pessimist. And I would describe you as an optimist. And I think normally we balance each other out, but I did kind of follow you along a little bit with your enthusiasm on that occasion.
You fool. But we have learnt, haven't we, that sometimes it's really hard to listen to when people give us negative or disappointing or difficult advice. And I find it quite difficult to discern what is a naysayer, what is somebody who's just trying to drag you down and you know put a negative spin on things, and what is sound wisdom. I find that hard to sort of unpack sometimes.
Well, I think encouragement feels good. Sound wisdom can sometimes feel uncomfortable, Ruth. And actually, if I rewind, some of the greatest advice that we've received has left us uncomfortable. And we have to say thank you for that advice, because we have entered into a world that we don't understand so well. Like, we know we spent the last 20 years each in our world of therapy, and we thoroughly enjoyed creating our resources. But when it comes to marketing and telling the world about what we do, we haven't really got a clue.
No,
I mean, you've been like
20 years, well, not 20, more than 20 years ago, oh my goodness, how old am I? A long time ago, I worked in marketing, but that is so dated. I mean, technology.
It's completely irrelevant now, Ruth, and we've had a false sense of confidence in your knowledge. And so
no, I don't think I had a false sense of confidence in it.
Well, I think if I rewind, to this year, we've been stepping out into the world of social media, which is not a world we feel particularly comfortable in. And I think at times a world that you felt almost willfully determined not to be part of, Ruth.
I know, and it's so confusing because we are doing this because we have a belief in trying to help people's minds thrive, hence our business name, and we're working out how to best get that out there. And whilst it's a tech startup, if you like, I very naively thought I didn't have to put myself out. I don't know. I had a very complicated relationship with it. But I'm coming to terms with the fact that we need to be on social media.
Well, again, and that was some uncomfortable advice that we received, wasn't it, Ruth? It was like, this is the way the world communicates now. If you don't communicate with the world with this, nobody is going to find you if you hide in your basement. Get out there. So we're like, okay. And so it's not something that either of us feel comfortable with. We don't really know what we're doing. And so some people have said to us, well, it's a bit confusing. We've had to go, yeah, you're probably right. And then do you remember, Ruth, there was a phase where you went, oh, somebody's told us we just make 1 point per video. So you chopped up all our videos with these like micro points, put it out there. And then one of our friends was like, what was that? Do you remember?
What are you talking about? Yeah, because it didn't make any point. It was just a point.
I made a point. I've done it, Georgina. Leave me alone. I could create 3 videos out of this now. So thankfully, and like recently, I've been like, she's putting stuff on there of her own volition. It's volition even. So yes, it's a steep learning curve. It is fair to say, isn't it?
It is. So we're psychologists. That's what we're good at. That's what we want to bring to the front. But how we do it, we are learning. 2025 has been a year of a lot of learning. And thankfully, we have had people along the way that have helped and encouraged us.
I would say I have been blown away by the people who have come alongside us on our journey and have supported us. So I'm thinking about Damon. We got 2 interviews with him. The first, Ruth, didn't get recorded, did it? And he was...
I own that. I did not hit record. He was so gracious.
He was amazing. So these people who don't really know us terribly well at all have come alongside us, and we've created new friends. It's been a really fascinating journey. They've taught us stuff. So Damon taught us, what are you doing? You can't do your podcast in the same room. That's why your sound is terrible. So this is why I now have my own room. So thank you, Damon. We've had William Thompson come and breathe in all his wisdom and do that pod with us on names. I have loved our journey of learning from people. And I think we have to, in the journey, embrace the criticism, because we are in our stretch zone. We are learning about a whole new world. And actually, the tough stuff has been much more meaningful than the enthusiasm. So sometimes where we've been met with enthusiasm, it has not led to substance, which is fine. Where we've received criticism, there has been growth.
I take a reflection on that as well, because I'm an enthusiastic person, as you mentioned earlier, and I can be very, very encouraging, but I need to be more thoughtful about my encouragement, because we have gone down a route, cheered on by people, and then thought, gosh, this has been a rather expensive experiment, because we're making a significant loss, shall we say. But what we have had is we've had people like Sophie, my friend, come alongside us and say, I believe in what you're doing, and not just say that, but then sacrifice an enormous amount of their own time to help us out with areas that we have no idea on.
So can I just mention who Sophie is, Ruth? Sophie is a BAFTA award-winning filmmaker. And Sophie, believing in what we're doing, gave up her time to go through all our videos because she felt she could make them just that little bit better. And Do you know, I was moved to tears by her generosity and kindness.
You don't cry much. You're quite.
I
Do
don't.
you?
It was amazing. Because I think I have acclimatized a little bit to naysayers, if you like. There has been so much personal growth in the journey that it is worth it. But I think it has been an expensive project, Ruth. So it's like, and there has been a massive technological development even since we've begun. You know, if we think about AI, that's kind of come into play. We found resources like that we're using now for our pods that we were not aware of that they existed at all when we started. So there are ways of doing things now that are far less costly and therefore less stressful.
Yes, AI is really interesting. So I think this is an ongoing journey and learning experience. So for us as dyslexics, it's enormously helpful for putting in an email or a correspondence going, spell check that. It can do so much more. And we've been experimenting a little bit with what else it can do. So with the social media, which I have struggled with because it's outside my comfort zone, I've experimented with developing scripts and ideas through AI. And what I found, and this is just my personal experience, is what it did was it sapped the joy of it, of the process for me. And I felt like I was a bit of a sausage factory, just trying to put stuff out that didn't really have any depth of meaning. And for me, depth of meaning is a very, very important value that I hold. And so it felt kind of like everything was a bit beige. And the other thing I noticed was the thing that I was trying to say got sort of distorted in the words that came out. And then I watched myself delivering something that I'd put through the whole sort of AI process, and my eyes were dead. And I was just like, that's not me. That's not me talking from my heart about what really matters. And so, despite it probably taking a little bit longer, for me currently, I am experimenting with parking AI for that aspect of it. And so for online, for the, the Instagrammy sort of social media stuff, I'm experimenting with just coming up with really authentic stuff and not depending too heavily on it. I'm not saying that I'm never going to go to it. This is a phase and an experiment and testing it out and seeing how it goes.
Well, I think AI has captured people's attention, hasn't it? And it can be a phenomenally helpful resource, but it needs to be used with wisdom. And I think there's a bit bigger discussion that we have planned in the future, which is on kind of people using AI as a therapeutic tool, which I think is riddled with potential complexity and problems. But I don't want to go off on that tangent. But yeah, so I think what we've learned is understanding technology, which I find really hard because I am a technophobe, and you take responsibility for the technical stuff because comparatively you're brilliant, Ruth. But I think we've learned that actually we can't put our head in the sand on this. We need to be aware of what's happening and engaging with what's happening.
Yes, I would agree with that. And so more recently, we've sort of pivoted a bit, haven't we? So we found that for a time, we were pulling in different directions. So I would say, so I'll speak for myself and then sort of check in with you. So I'm not speaking on your behalf, Georgina. I would say that I saw the direction of our business as heading towards more business orientated. Because I just thought we can reach more people. We can get our messages and our support and our help out to more people in that direction. And you were really clearly wanting to go down the individual route. And so our social media and I would say our website, everything we were putting out there probably looked quite confusing for a considerable chunk of 2025 as we were pulling in different directions and having different conversations. You didn't get what I was saying. I didn't get what you were saying. I had several conversations talking about our antlers being locked, that we were just like battle. Is there anything from there you disagree with, or would you say that was...
It wasn't a probably that our media was confusing. It was. And so we were both trying to squeeze everything that we wanted to do into the direction that kind of felt most poignant to us.
I even had dreams of us like walking off in different directions and like all sorts. It permeated everything, really, didn't it?
It did. And you know, it was a conversation with a wise man that brought clarity. So it's a very kind man. He was in my life at a distance many years ago, agreed to speak to me because I thought, actually, you know, he's the man I know will be able to speak into this. And very quickly he just went, it's not clear what you're doing. And if you're not united in your vision, you're not going anywhere. And we're like, oh, okay, that makes complete sense.
Yeah. So, and at that time, we put the brakes on, didn't we? We just put the brakes on and stopped and said, right, let's stop. Let's look at what we're doing, why we're doing it, how we're doing it. Let's have a total rethink. And so I would say something that a fear that we had that was coming up was a bill in terms of our running costs, that's significant amount of money for us, because we don't really have any customers, so it's an expensive hobby. And so this bill that was coming up was adding a little bit of stress to us. And the idea of pausing and just going, right, let's just sort of rethink that. If we didn't have that bill and we took it away and then we stripped it back and said, what are we doing and why are we doing it? And that lifted an enormous amount of stress. So what we're doing now is we're just sort of dismantling everything. We're bringing all our costs right down to the bare minimum. And then we're saying, like, why are we doing this? What are we doing? Well, I'll give my perspective and then you chip in if you want, Georgina. I would say Minds Thrive. It says what it does on the tin. That's what we want to do, is we want to help minds thrive. And recently I was looking at something. It was some research that gave statistics for recovery statistics. And I do that because there's lots of questions around the measures for psychological interventions generally. And it said that about half the people who go into therapy will meet this magic recovery stat. Now, I think therapy is more helpful than that, because about 70, 75, maybe 80% of people have a drop in symptoms. Now, we're not talking about severe enduring mental health where we work, Georgina. The stats are horrifyingly different. But that's... So I think looking at that, I think for me, I started to think, what helps? What helps from therapy? And then it was and so our Thrive Talking podcasts have now been psychology and, because what else in our life helps? Family, friends, faith, all the stuff outside of therapy that sometimes people will come into the therapy session and go, oh, I've had a bit of a breakthrough. And it's not really anything that we've done in therapy. It's something else that's happening. What about how you look after your body in terms of what you're eating and your exercise? How important is that for mental health? So we're kind of like panning out a bit more and starting to think of the mind, the body, the spirit. How do we look after ourselves as a whole person? And we're bringing the psychology, and now we're inviting people in with their stories, their lived experiences of what has helped.
And this journey really excites me. The people that we get to meet just bring me such joy. It comes back to being an exciting adventure again. And so we are looking at success differently. For us, it's about personal growth. we've had to ask those, okay, how do we afford to make this business run? Okay, right, we can do that. And then let's see what happens. Let's have these interesting conversations. Let's hopefully bring some meaningful knowledge into people's lives. And if we can do that, we've done something valuable.
There's something there about stripping away the financial pressures and aspects of it. And then once that's cleared out of the way, I agree. It's brought back a joy, it's brought back a lightness. It means that we can be authentically ourselves, kind of creating and delivering stuff. We can meet these interesting people and find out what's going on for them and share that with people. We can share insights, knowledge, wisdom, not just from psychology books, but also from lived experience.
Absolutely. And I would say that for me, part of the journey is that we accept that we are quite broad. So someone wrote to me and said, well, you've only got one thing on neurodiversity. I'm all about neurodiversity. Do you know what? A big part of my life is spent doing neurodiversity. But as a clinician, I work with the range of challenges that people bring, not just one thing. And so I think our work is a reflection of our interests, our personalities. Also, our ADHD brains are just so interested in so many different things that is reflected in what we are weaving into Minds Thrive. And I think, yeah, so a personal part of my journey is faith is something that really interests me and makes a massive difference in my life, and kind of being authentic about that part of the journey and curious about it and the intersect between faith and psychology.
Yes, and over the coming year, I think we really want to emphasize that. We really want to grow that, don't we? Look at the crossover between those, because in a lot of places they stand apart and separate as if they don't belong to each other. Somebody that I've started following recently is somebody called the Faith-Filled Therapist, and she really looks at the overlap between, I think she's a pastor maybe, and also a therapist, and so she looks at neuropsychology and faith and the intersection between that. So yeah, I'm hoping that we'll be able to bring something really rich and meaningful and with layers and depth to the interviews that we do over 2026.
Yes. So if we come back to this, what are we leaving behind and what are we taking forwards? So taking forwards, I want to really listen to people's wisdom. Leaving behind, do you know what? I sometimes feel I need to apologize for my prudence, which I would say is one of my gifts. Other people don't like it very much, Ruth. I think you might be one of them. But actually, I want to take that with me, because I have learned that when I do leave my prudence behind, I often regret it. We need a bit of flexibility in all of the things, but it's my gift and I'm sticking to it.
I think mine are sort of in a similar realm. I think recognizing that I think I've learned about finances a lot more, and that just working with what you have. So whatever you've got, rather than we need this, we need that. You know, I wanted to buy a microphone arm and all sorts, and now I've realised actually that microphone didn't even work properly with the tech. So I'd have had an expensive microphone arm for something I didn't need. So I think.
So are you now grateful that I said no, Ruth?
I am grateful. I am. And I am, Georgina, actually. I'm really grateful for working with you, because that does bring that balance in, and I am learning. I'm money is like sand in my hands. It just doesn't really stay with me very long. And so I am learning how to be less like that, particularly setting up a business. I am learning how to try and steward that a little bit better. And like I say, work with what I've got rather than working with what I'd like to have. So I think that's something I'll take going forward. My gratitude for the people and the help and the people that have come around us, I would definitely take that forward. I will take my learning from the bid, that there's something in that about the feelings, because I had really strong feelings that we were going to win it, and feelings based on some quite magical thinking. So as a psychologist, I would have been really checking myself in therapy about that. So there's something about listening to my feelings, but not going, I feel it, so it must be true. Listening to it and then really bringing in thought and reflection and discussions to unpack it a lot further.
I think there's something about holding things lightly. So I would say 2025, I'm grateful for it. I've met some amazing people. I love the journey of Mind Thrive with you, Ruth, and most of the time we have lots of fun. Sometimes our heads can get a bit sore from the antlers.
I think that's calmed down a lot now. I think since we did our pivot
Yes.
and we are heading in the same direction, I think that has really, I don't think we've locked antlers since we made that
No, I
decision
don't think we have
intentionally
actually.
and got in.
I think we've chilled out a lot because we're on the same page, and I think that would be the learning to not keep moving forward when you've not got unity, to work until you've got that unity, because if you don't have it, you don't have anything.
Yes, you don't get anywhere, do you? So because we had disunity, if we were in the same boat, use that metaphor, you're pulling that way, I'm pulling that way, and we're not actually getting anywhere.
Going
And now
round
I
in
think we're
circles.
now I think we're sat side by side and we're rowing in the same direction. Now I don't know if there's an island ahead of us, but we're rowing in the same direction. Hopefully it's not the Pacific, it's the
Well,
Mediterranean, and
hopefully
we'll hit land soon.
we're getting fit and we're learning with our rowing.
We are. And actually, that's another aspect of the learning, isn't it? There's something about the what it's doing for us, like our own personal growth, our own personal journey, and the enjoyment. And so I think something I will take forward is joy, joyfully leaping into 2026, but not too enthusiastically, don't worry.
Those of you who have joined us on our journey, many of them being our friends, some of them being new friends, we thank you, and we look forward to sharing our Mind Thrive journey with you in 2026.